Many people have asked me to make a video on this very important topic and talk in detail about this. A few weeks ago, USCIS conducted a lottery system for H1B visas and about 500 applications were filed for mere 85,000 spots. Actually, more than 700,000 applications were filed, but many of them were duplicates. So I think they are going to get discarded. So what it means is that only 1 in 6 applicants was selected in the lottery system. But let me caution you, the actual number of people who will eventually get the visa is going to be even less. Because even after you win the lottery, your application needs to go through a review process and where you may or may not be finally approved. In fact, there will be a few hundred to a few thousand applications that will be denied even after they win the lottery. And that is why I'm here to tell you why you should not get too excited even if you won the lottery. People are putting only their first step in a golden cage inside of which there is quicksand in which they will slowly sink. Why am I comparing winning an H1B lottery to golden cage and quicksand, you will ask? The reason is that it will keep on absorbing you, and the longer you stay inside that cage, it will make it harder and harder for you to leave. And therefore, I will also tell you why you should not be too disappointed if you did not get through that H1B lottery system. So there are two people in regards to H1B this year. First are those people who were able to get through that lottery system, and second, who could not. And I will speak for both sides. And do not expect all good or all bad news. I will try and present things as they are, which is a mix of both. First of all, because there are far more applications than there are spots, lottery system is used, which is kind of stupid and outdated. But I think the reason that they use is because it is convenient. It is easier to just select people randomly rather than going through each application and assigning weights to it like Canada and Australia do. So, did you win the H1B lottery this year? If so, congratulations. You will now get the opportunity to live and work in the US for at least next 3 years. Hopefully, you will have a stable income and you will be able to save well. But remember, all of this comes at a cost. What cost, you may ask? And the cost is this. See, American dollar is one of the strongest currencies in the world. It surely is a much stronger currency than an Indian rupee. What will happen over the next 3 years is that you will get used to earning in dollars. But because you are also starting a new life as a professional working in USA, you will also upgrade your life as you should. But then remember that you may try and save some, but it will go hand in hand with upgrades. For example, you will spend money on a car, nicer place to live, some travel, maybe bring your family over to show them the country, and variety of other expenses. So over the next 3 years, you will save some surely, but not all that much that you thought you would. So after 3 years, once that H1B expires, do people actually go back? Mostly do not. In fact, I don't have real numbers, but I would expect that maybe 99% people continue to stay here. In those 3 years, even though you were excited by the prospect of earning in dollars, perhaps paying off your loans, investing some and saving some cash, when you reach that end of those 3 years, you will find yourself in a position where you're not all that financially secure. And because most people do not consider themselves financially very secure at the end of those 3 years and that they like living here, they naturally extend their visa by 3 more years. And in the next round of those 3 years, what happens is that people start focusing on their financial well-being better. However, as you will see, cost of everything in those next 3 years also starts to go up. And by this time, you would have already made at least one trip, but likely multiple trips back home. And every time you go back, you will get frustrated with crumbling infrastructure, traffic pollution, excessive honking and noise pollution, and other such things. The moment you return to the US after your family trip, you will notice the difference in the quality of daily life, and then you will want to extend your life furthermore. By this time, you will likely have a wife or a husband and maybe kids. They get used to school here and you think it is best for them to continue their education here. Now here comes a fork. There are 2 types of families. First, where kids were born in India. The parents were likely working there and moved to the US on H1B and brought their kids to the US on a dependent visa. And second are those who likely came to the US as students, studied here and had kids who were born in the US who are now US citizens. A bit uncommon, but a third type of families also exist where one child is on a dependent visa and the second child was born in the US and is therefore a US citizen. And now is the time when the trouble begins and you will start to see the effects of quicksand. Hear me when I say this. A lot of people, perhaps most people, like sweet poison but hate bitter truth. But someone has to make people aware of the bitter truth, right? So here, the bitter truth from me. I call it bitter truth because most of the people listening to this will go through this if they are not already going through this. There have been many attempts to speed up the green card process. And green card backlog for those who were born in India is so huge that 80% or even more people have almost no chance of getting a green card in their entire lifetime. And in my personal view, not even a single serious and sincere attempt has been made in the Congress on this issue. It is because this issue gets clubbed with overall immigration overhaul process, where even illegal immigrants come into the picture, and then you need a majority vote in the Senate and the Congress. So this is something that is definitely out of your control. Now coming back to the golden cage issue, the 2 or 3 types of families that I mentioned, let me tell you how they suffer. Let's say the kids were born in America. Such families are somewhat in a better condition. Not really, but somewhat. Such families get into big trouble only when the parents lose their jobs and consequently their H1B status. In such cases, they can't leave their young children in the country and go back, right? If the kids are very young, then there is no issue. They are not used to the system here. The family can move back, and when the kids grow up, they are ready for college, they can come here without going through any of the immigration hassle. It is not the end of the road for such families because they still have a chance to return when an opportunity arises. If the parents stay on H1B and are not affected by layoffs or job losses, the kids can smoothly transition to college and work here. So the suffering of such families is still unlikely. They have a lot of hassles such as going back to get the stamping done, not always being able to attend weddings and funerals and such. The other 2 types of families are where the kids were not born in America and are on a dependent visa on their parents' H1B. And these kids will age out of the green card process when they turn 21. And such families, unfortunately, are in deep trouble now. For most of the people who are now just getting started on their H1B life are not thinking that far right now. And because they are not thinking far ahead, they do not consider this a real issue for them anytime soon. They are only looking forward to start working, traveling, and saving some money. I'm not saying that they are clueless about these issues that they will encounter in the future, but they are certainly postponing worrying about such things because they are not encountering those issues anytime in the near future. It is just like being a chain smoker who is so consumed by his smoking habit that he is willing to overlook the possibility of lung cancer in the long run. So, if you are on H1B and have kids who are on a dependent visa, then be assured that unless a major immigration overhaul happens, things are looking bad. There are more than 200,000 aged out kids and the numbers are only increasing each year. What it means by aging out is that because the law says that if you are 21 years or older, you cannot be on the dependent visa anymore. You have to get your own visa, either a student visa or an H1B visa of your own. And as I mentioned in the beginning, about 500,000 applications were filed for mere 85,000 visa spots, making it roughly 1 in 6 chances of getting through the H1B lottery. What makes it frustrating is that it does not even differentiate between a PhD from Harvard and an entry-level programmer. So even though your kids have lived all their lives in this country, they find themselves at the mercy of luck and the crumbling immigration system. Over time, slowly, people realize that the life they have built over the years has started to sink, like one sinks in the quicksand, slowly but surely. After much time has passed, they realize that they are trapped. They are so used to living in a developed country and they are so used to getting good salaries. They are so used to their life that they have built over the years that the fear of unknown strikes. Going back to India scares them because of the extent of competition, lack of same quality of opportunities in the same quantity, and the fear of their children failing to adjust to the system there. What happens in many cases is that parents' jobs are stable, they are earning well, they are doing well, their careers are going just fine, but they are caught in that long green card backlog. But their children who grew up here are forced to go back to India to find a new life there, whereas their own parents have a legal status to live in the US. See, if parents are in India and the children are in the US, it can be more easily managed because parents actually grew up there, but the reverse can be very uncomfortable. So here is my conclusion. Just because you got through the H1B lottery system, do not think that your life is set. In fact, you're locking yourself in a golden cage which is filled with quicksand inside. Most likely, most people will keep on struggling for God knows how long. So how to handle this situation? Hear me out. The right way to approach this situation is that once you have been here for a while, make sure that you have gained enough knowledge and enough experience and have saved enough for your future. Beyond that, the best attitude is to accept whatever outcome that it may be. And for those who could not get through the lottery, in the short term it may seem like a losing proposition, but trust me, H1B is no gateway to heaven. In fact, it is far from it. If you think, had you got that so-called coveted H1B, trust me, in the long run, it does not matter. Remember what I'm saying. You are born for a much higher purpose. You are not born to get an H1B visa. It may not seem like it right now, but in the long run, not getting that damn H1B visa could make you avoid a lot of long-term stress and conflict. Many of those who have to go back now, please know this. The doors are not really closed for you, but new doors might open. Imagine living a free life in your own country without having the hassle of being at the mercy of a foreign government's dysfunctional immigration system. Imagine sending your children to school without worrying about their safety. Okay, I might be going a bit too far here, but I hope you get the idea. Simply put, getting an H1B visa is not necessarily a great blessing, and likewise, not getting it is not necessarily a curse. Every place has its own pros and cons, and in the long run, not getting an H1B can actually be a pro. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind and God bless America.